Hello from Gardening at Dwensa here in Ireland, and this video is an update on my orchids. Now, some of you may be wondering why there hasn't been an update on the orchids for a while, and there have been a couple of reasons. The main one being that I've been very busy with what's going on in the garden, preparing the garden for my open days, weeding, planting, all that kind of thing, and there just hasn't been time to shoot any orchid videos. Also, I've had a couple of problems. I guess the main one is not being able to find a large supply of orchid bark for repotting. So whereas you can buy small quantities here, you can't get larger quantities, and you can't get larger quantities shipped from abroad, so that's kind of been difficult. And also I've had some mealy problems with my orchids and that kind of thing. But in any case, it's autumn, the garden is finished for the year, it's time to come indoors and to look forward to all those orchids that are going to bloom. So today what we're going to do is have a look at a good number of the orchids in my collection, particularly Oncidiums, because I have a lot of spikes coming. I also have some exciting flowering news which I'll share with you very soon, and I think you can probably get some hints as to what's behind me in this video. Also, we'll have a look at the Inca Orchid Oncidiums that I got recently and how they're doing, and I don't know, I guess whatever comes to mind. But we'll be going into different rooms in the house, looking under the grow light, etc. So let's get on with the orchid update. So first up, and to kick off this video, we have my Oncidium sotoanum, and this is a plant I've had for many years, and it has flowered magnificently on numerous occasions. Now this year it's displaying 4 spikes so far, which aren't yet opened, and I actually think if we look down here that one of these little flowers, this one here, trying to open. So we've got that spike, these are branching spikes, this one here, and 2 smaller ones on top, but I hope that before long I will get some more, because normally this plant is covered in blooms. Now this plant has been living under the grow light upstairs, and in a few moments we'll go up there and have a look at some paphs I have up there that are coming into flower, but I just took this one down here for the moment just to show it in better light. So that's the first thing I want to tell you about, and I suppose it makes more sense to talk about the Oncidiums first, since we've started with Oncidiums. So let's move on to the next batch. And over here in this corner of my kitchen, I have something very special I want to share with you. And no, it's not this Phalaenopsis, which is looking absolutely gorgeous at the moment, although this really is worth mentioning. And this one is called Elegance Peach, and it's just one I bought in a supermarket, which has done so well. Now it's just beginning to go over. We have one of the flowers wilting ever so slightly, but it's looking good still. And I grew it so that it cascades down, so you can see that here we have the rest of the plant here in the pot. But what I really wanted to show you is right beside the Phalaenopsis, and it's this absolute vision in the form of Oncidium Sharry baby. And if you were standing where I'm standing, you would be overwhelmed by the fantastic scent of vanilla and chocolate. Now the scent isn't to everybody's taste. My husband, for example, doesn't like it, but my daughter, who is not interested in plants at all, when she came to visit, she said she could definitely smell the vanilla from it, and that's a positive thing. The chocolate scent, I guess, is just a bit cloying perhaps, but in any case it's a fantastic Oncidium. Now I've had this plant for 4 years, and for the first 2 years it didn't flower, and then I received the tip that I should give it more light. So I was giving it typical Oncidium type light, and after I got this tip I moved it to the kind of position where I normally keep Cattleyas, and the result has been flowering. So it flowered last year for the first time and this year for the second. So it's been in flower for a while now. I'm afraid I didn't really take note when the flowers first opened, but I have the most magnificent spike that is cascading down. You can see how it's bent double there and out over the edge of the pot and then goes down. But that's okay because it's not going to break, and I have these shelves in the corner of my kitchen, so they do a good job of showing off these kind of hanging plants to good effect. And I guess really that's all I have to say about Oncidium Sharry Baby, except I absolutely love it. It's quite a big plant. We have lots of pseudobulbs and leaves. It takes up quite a bit of space, but if you get a display like this from it, how can you go wrong? It's just worth its position in, or its place in anybody's collection. And let's just go in and have a little close-up of some of those flowers. I'm getting the scent, it's coming to me in wafts, and I like it, so that's the main thing, isn't it? Fantastic. So I've made a quick change and replaced the Oncidium sotoanum with these 4 Oncidiums, which I want to show to you now. And these are ones that are all in spike, which is really exciting news. Now 3 of them you've seen the flowers of before. The first one is this one here, and I think it's a noid. It's one that I received as a gift some years back, and it has small reddish flowers, very nice, but yeah, so we've got a spike on that one, and behind it we have a much bigger plant. Now you will see that there are some marks on the leaves, and I'm not quite sure what that is, but these 4 Oncidiums have been in isolation in a separate room. They've just been brought in here to show you the spikes today. So I think I've come to grips with the problem, but we shall see. Anyway, here's the spike. Can you see that there? Very, very nice yellow one. Over to its left, we have another noid one, but this one had beautiful red flowers, and I bought it in flower at a cheap price, and it's got a new spike now. So what I really like about this are the really, really thick pseudobulbs. Really cool. So we should have flowers on that before long. And then the final one I want to introduce you to today is one that was bought for my daughter. It was to be her first orchid, and through the wings and roundabouts I've ended up minding this for the last while, and it came to me, or to her, as a seedling that I bought at the orchid show 3 years ago, and it has grown quite well. And last year it tried to flower, but it was a very wimpy kind of spike. But this year we have a spike which seems much sturdier, and I really hope that this one is going to make it. And the plant just seems in a lot better nick this year than it was. Of course, last summer we had a very, very hot summer, and the Oncidiums didn't like this, so that may have to do with some of the markings and stuff on their leaves and the general decline in their health. But I think these ones are going to pull through, so that's the update with these 4, ready to flower very soon. And after a further quick change, we're now looking at the orchids I got from Inca Orchids in the Netherlands not very long ago. And as you'll recall, I was gifted these plants. They came to me in full flower. Now, since that time, they have finished flowering, obviously, and been repotted, and they look in really good shape. The mix that they were in was not very good. It was very, very moisture retentive, and they've since been repotted in orchid bark, and I think they've done really well since. Now, this is the yellow one. I put the name up on the screen, and you can see that it has at least one healthy new growth, that one at the front. Don't see any spike, but it's a good plant and it had good roots when it came out of the pot. This one here is the Nippon one, the white one that I bought, but it came from Inca Orchids as well. And the same story, the roots were in good shape when they came out of the pot, but I didn't like the mix at all. So it's been potted in a much more regular mix and it looks to be doing well. This growth here, this big one here, is a new growth and I don't see any evidence of flowers yet, but I'm sure they'll come before very long. This one over here is Chayenne and this is its new growth. Same story, good roots, bad mix, and it's doing well since it's been repotted. And as with a lot of orchids that you buy in supermarkets, when you repot them you really have to be careful to get the plug that's directly underneath the center of the plant, the heart of the plant. It's a sphagnum plug that's used to start plants off when they're seedlings, but there comes a point in time when it degrades, and if you don't get it out then the whole plant will rot. So that was part of the job I did in repotting. And this one is called Renaissance. This is its new growth, and I hope that before very long this will also be in flower. Now the only one that hasn't done terribly well is the Miltonia one, the yellow one, which, I mean, it's producing new growths. That's a new growth there and around the other side, but the tips of the leaves tend to be browning, and it's not from overfeeding, I can tell you that for nothing. You can see that I've actually cut them off here, so I'm not quite sure why that is the case. And also you can see some marks there on this pseudobulb anyway. Anyway, I'm just going to have to monitor it over time and see how it does. So that's the update on my Inca orchids. And Styrbik, of course, which is also an Inca orchid, you saw in my last video. Over here by the sink I have my one and only Dendrobium, actually in flower at the moment. And this is a nobile hybrid, Comet King, which has quite a I should get to that after it finishes flowering. As you can see, yes, this plant, it does need a repot, and I could even remove some of those old canes as well because they're not really serving any purpose. But the plant I've had for 6 years, so it's an old favourite. And there we go, just getting a better close-up of the flowers on a very sunny day in autumn. And now we're upstairs at the orchid table, which is underneath the grow lights. And some of you may recall how I originally got grow lights not very long ago, but they tended to burn my orchids. I couldn't get them far enough away from the table where the orchids were, so I've covered them with fleece and have had better results since then. So I just want to show you down this end, and what I've done here is covered the light quite a bit so that I can grow my Paphiopedilums underneath the light, and the result has been quite good. So we've got flowers coming on this one here, and this is the repeat flower Pinocchio, which is opening really quite red this year. I recall him being more pink. I wonder has that to do with the light, but we'll see what that looks like when it materializes fully. And then over here as well we have the large complex American hybrid, which I've had for many years, and this one is also going to flower. So yeah, they're doing quite well. So another quick change, and we have moved on to Cattleyas. And this Cattleya that we see in front of us is called Blossom Bounty, and I've had this for many years. It was a seedling when it came to me. Now it hangs over the kitchen sink, that's why it's in a hanging basket, and it has this chain on it, and it does really well. It's got these 3 buds at the moment, and there's something very strange to do with this orchid that I just wanted to show you, and it's the fact that it produces keikis. So the plant has a central point, and from that central point it grows new growths on top, and each of them is an individual plant that can be removed. So for example, this one here is a plant with its own roots that could be separated from the parent plant. And I know this because I have separated them in the past and given them to friends, and they've done well and flowered. So I'm not going to do any division just at the moment because, as we saw, the plant is in bud. But before long I'm going to have to do something with this and take those keikis off. So maybe I'll make a video about that if people are interested. Now we're up in my bedroom, actually, at the window that's south facing, to observe the fantasticness that is BLC George King Serendipity and its first flowering. And this is a fantastic Cattleya that is flowering for me for the first time. Now, unfortunately, this orchid is on the naughty step, as are all the plants that we see in here. So I've had problems with the kind of mealy on my orchids, and anyway, not to bore you with long stories of treating things and treating them again with something else, but anyway, I have remnants of mealy still on these plants, so I don't want to mix them in with my other ones, and that's why King George, or George King, is in isolation, and I can't take it down to enjoy in the kitchen, which is a terrible shame. Now, I really love the colours on this plant. The pink, it's not a very loud, bright pink, it's more kind of antique. It's a shade of pink that appeals very much to me. The lip is very attractive with yellow and red in there, pink and white as well. And the shape of the petals is really good as well. So a lot of Cattleya hybrids have very rounded petals that look like just, you know, a blob, an unshapely blob. But this one isn't like that at all. And you can see that the petals have some tapering about them, which is really very attractive. I'm not sure we're actually picking up the colour properly with this camera because we have the sun on it. But if you go in there and look, you can maybe get an idea of the shade of pink that is predominant on this Cattleya. Anyway, I absolutely love it to bits, and this is a Cattleya I had to get my hands on because the first ever large Cattleya that I saw in flower, the one that turned me on to the whole Cattleya thing, was a George King Serendipity that I saw at a show, and I determined I would have to get my hands on one in the end, and I did. And I have it, and now it's in flower, so I'm very pleased. If only I can be sure that this mealy is shaken off. Now the rest of the plant, as you can see, is quite substantial. We have leaves, we have pseudobulbs, and we have a lot of roots, and it does need a repotting quite urgently. A lot of these roots are actually quite dead at this stage, but there's a new swollen eye here at the base of the new pseudobulb, so I think soon that's going to start growing and pushing out new roots, and that would be the moment to repot after, of course, we've finished enjoying this magnificent flower. There's no scent just yet, although George King Serendipity is known to have a fantastic scent, so I look forward to that over the next few days. And together with these isolated orchids, we also have, unfortunately, Frances Fox, which is this one here, which has flowered for me and done very well, and at the moment is producing, well, the beginnings of a new flower spike, so I hope that materializes. And the final Cattleya that I want to show you is this little one that I picked up when I visited Schwerter earlier on this year, and you may recall that I chose this because I knew it had green flowers and because it was in sheath. but the 2 sheaths that it came with have withered without ever producing buds, which was a bit sad, but so it goes. And since then the plant has produced a new sheath, and this one is quite exciting because it's actually puffed out. If I very gently press here, I can feel that there is air on the inside. Now I can't actually see if there's a darkness in there at the moment. There may well be, but the fact that it's puffed out with air is an indication that there is a bud coming. Perhaps I can see something down there. It doesn't matter, I don't need to see it. I know it's on its way, so that's really exciting, good news. And so just to wrap up this video, I'll just take a quick glance down my shelves here in the kitchen just to see if there's anything that I forgot to mention to you. Neophonetus were recently repotted, as you can see down here. This orchid here, this supermarket phal that flowered for the longest time, it finished flowering, but the spike now has new buds, so we'll get more flowers there. And there's a second spike over there. Can you believe it? It has done so well. And along the same lines, just down here, we have another phal. And speaking of keikis, can you see what's going on with this particular phal? Well, this was given to me by my son's headmistress, who couldn't work it, was the language I was given. And she gave me this Phalaenopsis, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And since then it's grown really good roots and looks very happy. I mean, it's a bit wobbly in its pot when I got it first, but now it looks really happy. But it's also produced this keiki, and you can see that this is a keiki. It's on the stem, the original stem of the plant. It's produced its own roots and leaves, and it's sent out a flower spike. So the keiki is about to flower. I can't believe it. So I may separate this when it finishes flowering, and well, it'll be a good opportunity to see what the flowers of this plant look like, because I've never actually seen them and it came with no information to that effect. So watch this space to see what kind of flowers we get. And just moving up, we've had a couple of plants repotted. The Phalaenopsis I got in Schwerter earlier on in the year was recently repotted and ended up with 4 plants. There were actually 4 in the same pot. And up here we have some of those. There's 2 went into the same pot here. And then just finally at the very top, which might be difficult to see, and here we have my 2 Psychopsis, which are in spike. Now these 2 flowered simultaneously a couple of months ago. It was a really amazing sight. The 2 of them opened on exactly the same day, and both of the flowers were the right way up and they looked fantastic together for a long time. And I kept saying I must make a video, but I never got around to it. But one of them anyway has thrown up the second spike, so I should have, well, 3 flower spikes next time round with a bit of luck. Okay, and I guess now I've come to the end of my orchid update, which I hope you enjoyed. And if so, then please check back for lots more videos. Which was your favourite orchid? Was it Oncidium Sharry Baby? Was it perhaps King George Serendipity, the wonderful Cattleya? Or was it the Phalaenopsis that we see behind me now, Elegant Peach? Maybe you'll vote in the little poll I'll put above in the video. Okay, thanks again for watching, and check back for lots more of this kind of thing. Bye for now.